together for October 14th, 2024. We'll have Commissioner Capshaw, we'll do the prayer, followed by Commissioner Wandell with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, as we gather for this County Commission's operations meeting, we seek your wisdom and guidance. Help us to make decisions that serve our community with integrity and compassion. May our discussions foster collaboration and understanding, leading to solutions that uplift all our residents. Grant us the clarity to prioritize the needs of those we represent and the courage to act justly. May we be good stewards of the resources entrusted to us and work together for the common good. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. It's in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is the appearance of citizens. But I'm going to go ahead. I don't see anybody that wants to come up. I'm going to go ahead and read our rules. You'll be asked to give your name and address and obliged to the following rules. 3-minute time limit. Direct comments to the chairman. Any handouts will be given to the chair or vice chair to disseminate to the committee. Please refrain from disparaging or asperse comments. No personal attacks to any committee members. That'd be our rule going forward from this committee. With that being said, next is the ASAP quarterly update.
Good evening. Want to give you guys an update on where we are and where we've been this past quarter for ASAP. We've been busy. And so in your packet, we're going to start on the front page. Wanted to give you guys an update on P3 campus. This is the anonymous reporting system that we fund for both Anderson County and Oak Ridge schools. This meets that state law requirement for schools to have an anonymous reporting system in their school district. And this has been used more recently with a few tips. And so we've been working with the Anderson County Sheriff's Department in combination with the school districts to actually update some processes and protocols around how this is being handled internally. But wanted to give you guys the update that this is being used, and it does accept tips, anything from bullying to substance use. So if there's X person has a vape on campus or X person's using alcohol in the student section on a Friday night, these things can be reported on their phone or on their computer. And then it does also cover everything up to suicide prevention. So a suicide threat, or if someone is worried about a friend, they can put that on there if they just need additional help or support. And then that goes directly to the administrators and SROs in each building, and then they are able to investigate those tips with the information given. So it's up to the student reporting of how much information they are able to give, but it does give us some really great insight into what is going on with our students, and allows them the opportunity to do that anonymously. The next page you will see is workforce development. Wanted to give you guys an update on where we have been in the last quarter, but then also within the last year. We've expanded our partnerships with the University of Tennessee at Knoxville for the College of Social Work, and also with the college with the Masters of Public Health Department. And so expanding those partnerships has allowed us to keep some interns readily and steady in our office, which has been a great service to Anderson County. And we have actually been able to retain 2 of them within the county, which we're excited about. And so this partnership with them allows these students to come alongside us and work, but also allows us to advocate at the state and national level. And so they were able to participate in some of those events with us, as well as going out into our community at some of our tabling events and different things, which our recent intern said was her most favorite part, was getting to talk to our citizens. And so we are thrilled about that. Where these students ended up, we've had 3, and then 2 of them have actually stayed within Anderson County. And so one ended up in the clerk's office here in this building, and then the other one became a health educator at the health department. And so exciting to be able to pull in this top talent from UT, but also to be able to retain it here in Anderson County. And so we're looking forward to how that will continue to grow as years to come, and especially this year as we rotate in, we will have our first social work intern, and they will be with us for a year and a half. And so that is a really great opportunity that we have, and looking forward to how they may serve Anderson County. The last thing I will give an update on, and I will pass the baton, is on one of the last pages there is an update about what's happening at ASAP. We were able to go this quarter to the Anderson County Fair. So we attended the best 6 days of summer, and it truly was. We had an awesome opportunity to connect with a lot of our community members while we were there, and have the conversation about what is their why, but also to hear and to see how many, if not every one of us, are affected by substance use, and what that looks like and how that's impacted families across our county. And so we enjoyed getting to provide resources, distribute naloxone, but most importantly, have those conversations and build those connections. We've also attended multiple different community events in the last quarter, and we have grown our coalition, something that I'm very proud of. Our September meeting, we actually had 24 people in attendance as we discussed schools and school partnerships. So this month, the fourth Monday from 9 to 10, we will be meeting at our office, and we will be hosting law enforcement, first responders, including fire and EMS, and hoping to kind of continue that conversation. We've restructured our coalition meetings this year to really focus on each of the 12 sectors. And so this next sector coming up is going to be our law enforcement and first responders, so we can continue to have these conversations with them and hear from them on where our hotspots are in our community. We have data and research that backs up kind of the programs and projects that we're doing, but also want to hear, they're obviously the boots on the ground, and so we want to hear from them on what are some things that our community needs and ways that we can continue to support their efforts. I will also touch on our vaping class, and this is too for anyone watching in general community. We do have a vaping class every fourth Saturday of the month that currently operates through a tobacco citation from the school to juvenile court, and then juvenile court sends that out to the parent, and then the parent and student actually have to attend the class on a Saturday. What I will also say is this can be a referral from a parent. So if there are any parents in our community, if anybody reaches out to you all, they can refer their student and come to the class without it ever going to juvenile court if they want to be proactive, if they believe their student would benefit from the class, just gaining that knowledge, or if they believe there's a problem, then we can absolutely be a first step in addressing that. We are also starting what we're calling coping conversations with these students. Our students have specifically asked, I've attended this class, now what? Kind of conversation around, we understand that this one class is not going to solve everything. And so what are those next steps look like for them, so that they can actually come up with some really unique but positive ways that they can cope with the anxiety or stress or whatever it may be that got them vaping in the first place. And so they are going to be able to, as referred by their parent. So there will be parental consent, and the student will have to want to attend, but they will be offered a free series of sessions with someone on our staff to engage in these coping conversations. Once they go through that intake, if it goes beyond substance use, which we suspect it will, and it will get into some mental health things, we have worked out a partnership with Ridgeview to have that direct referral set up so that they can get in the Ridgeview pipeline to receive additional services with them, as well as the entire family. So that is something we're starting that we're really looking forward to continue to provide support for students and for families in our community.
Hi guys. So I am gonna skip to, let me keep going, Farm Bill update. So this is really important. The DEA is still making a couple of decisions on this, but in terms of the Farm Bill, this is regarding the new licensing rules for any hemp-derived cannabinoid or HDC products. So these are our Delta 8, Delta 9, THCA, all of those good things, the regular stuff that we are now seeing in all of our vaping stores. So essentially, after a really good conversation with the state back in July, as of October 1st, the state now requires that suppliers and retailers of these products are now to apply for licenses to manufacture and also sell them. So for the suppliers, those people will have to have a licensure that manufactures HGCs or sells those products, but then those retailers will also have to have that licenseship. So that's really important. That is what the state is looking for. And as of an important note, retail locations within 1,000 feet of K through 12 schools shall not sell those products unless they can provide that clear documentation that they were selling prior to the year of 2024. So anybody before that is under that law, but any sort of new vaping stores or anything like that that come in this year will have to prove or will not be able to supply. Hopefully, I don't think we have any of those in our county, but I'm not 100% positive. Licensing process is pretty easy. You submit an application online. TDA will review that. They will send out licensing fees approvals, and then the permit will be sent. Any of those frequently asked questions can be found at that QR code. They just answer some clear definitions, what to look for when everything is happening. So those applications opened on July 1st. The education period began July 1st through September 30th. And then that licensing enforcement began on October 1. So that's what they're looking for. That kind of just started, but that's what we're going through currently. Debates just ended kind of in August, so we're still waiting on a couple of more updates, hopefully, that we will be able to give you soon.
Okay. Now, hold on a second.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, and I was talking to our law director, Mr. Brooks, this morning about this. This is something that the Operations Committee took up last year. And we asked our state representatives to look into this to see what we could do to try to strengthen the laws. So I think they've done their due diligence in coming up with this. And then now we'll see what we can do about compliance checks like we do with other things. But thank you very much, and thank you to all the state legislators that worked on this.
Yeah, and we will be sending out tobacco verification materials, same thing as we normally do with our alcohol verification materials, and that will include information about Delta 8, Delta 9, THCO, all of that good stuff.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder for everyone here and anyone watching, if you suspect that a retailer is not following the rules as they should be, you can go to the Tennessee Department of Agriculture's website, and they have a complaint form that can be submitted, and you can do that just to make sure everyone's staying in line when we're in between compliance checks. So I'm going to talk about something very exciting at ASAP. If you've heard of JA BizTown, we are very, very excited to introduce a new job role in BizTown. This is something that we're very excited about, especially with BizTown being housed right here in our community. And also I'm personally excited because they want to laugh at me, but I was the mayor of BizTown. Thank you, thank you. But we will be adding a job role, and this will be the executive director of a nonprofit. So these students will be able to see what it is like to be working in the nonprofit sphere. They can fundraise money, they can create campaigns, they can work and find out what a nonprofit is all about. So this is the first one that this Junior Achievement Building here in Clinton, in the nonprofit sphere, this is the first job that they will have. And keep your fingers crossed, we hope to expand that in the coming years. But that'll start this year. We're super, super excited about that, to be able to bring this new field and this new level of education about this new workforce to these students. So yeah, we're super excited about that. And then on the very final page, we're just gonna wrap this up by talking about International Overdose Awareness Day. That was back at the end of August. The actual day is on August 31st, that is recognized internationally, but we held ours on August 29th. We had it at First Baptist Church in Clinton. We were beyond honored and humbled and just ecstatic to see how many people came out. We had over 12 organizations. We had many, many people from the community who were in recovery, who were supportive, who were there to just pay tribute to the lives that were lost. And then we also had many speakers, a mother who had lost her son to overdose. We had representatives from the Governor's Office of Faith-Based Initiatives come and speak with us. It was just a wonderful event that we are beyond excited that we get to house here and that we get to honor those lives lost. We had tribute banner with our 75 lives lost in Anderson County in 2022, and we also released 75 butterflies to honor them. So we were extremely humbled by the turnout here. We can't wait to make it even bigger and better next year and just continue spreading that information, that prevention, and that fellowship with each other. So that's gonna wrap us up for today. I do just real quick wanna remind you all that DEA Drug Take Back Day is gonna be October 26th. So that'll be a time that anyone can drop off their old, unused, unwanted, expired medication. We will be in Oak Ridge and in Rocky Top for that. And since a loved one's medicine cabinet is one of the #1 ways that people get prescription medication that can be misused, we really want to encourage everyone to not keep that loose in your house, lock it up, and as soon as you're done with it, go ahead and drop it in a proper disposal bin. So if you all have any questions for any of us, I think that wraps us up. But other than that, thank you all so much for having us.
Any questions? Thank you very much. It was a
Good
great
job,
presentation.
good job, thank
Yeah.
y'all.
Okay, next is the amended basic emergency operation plan.
You have already approved this plan. The changes that are in your packet, I am requesting a motion to approve. These are at request of the Red Cross. You'll see a lot of them are language changes from perhaps where they're a lead agency to changing the wording to a support agency. Some of the things are, for instance, a program about reunification. There's a program name change, just different changes requested by Red Cross. So I'm asking for a motion to approve those changes.
We have a motion by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by Commissioner Yeager. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Anderson County Tourism by Stephanie Wells, Director.
Thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to come tonight and talk to you about the economic impact of tourism. The other day, I was on the radio station. I go once a month to Ask Your Neighbor just to talk about events that are coming up in Anderson County and different things that pertain to tourism for Anderson County. And I think Commissioner Isabel heard that interview and then in a conversation asked me to kind of speak to you all. So I'm very happy to be here tonight to share this information with you. So I created the graphic that you see with a little family of three on the front, but it is backed up by the report from the state that we receive every year about economic impact of tourism. So I just wanted to put that on page 2 so that you'll see that also. But this information on the front page talks about the value of a visitor to Anderson County. So everybody's always asked me, how many people visit Anderson County? And the state in the past has always provided us with the economic impact information, but they have started providing us with a little bit more information. And then we also combine it with our placer information to find out more details about who's visiting, when they're visiting, how long they're staying. So that first bit of information in 2023, 463,000 plus visitors stayed overnight in Anderson County, and 781,000 visited for the day. So also a lot of people ask, well, where are we in the state? Where do we rank? We are 16th in visitor spending. So when visitors come here and spend their money, we are the 16th state out of 95. And you have to remember the big 5, which are Nashville, Memphis, Sevier County, and this is all by county, this is not by city. So Shelby County, Davidson, the 2 Nashville counties, and Chattanooga, Knox County. So actually there's kind of 6 counties that are at the top. And then it kind of drops a little bit, and then we have these mid-range counties, which we are in, and then you have our next to ARC distressed counties, and then you have ARC distressed counties. That's how the state kind of ranks us. But overall, we're 16 out of 95. Collectively, visitors, and I use this little graphic, like this family here of 3, spent $190.76 million in Anderson County in 2023. So how that ranks down is your typical visitor spent $153 a day, and this family of 3 spent $459 collectively. So that's $153 a day per person. Okay, because a lot of that involves overnight. It's what they eat, it's what they're doing, the activities, they're buying stuff in the gift shop, all those things collectively together. So this is a 5% increase. We took a little bit of a slump during 2020 with COVID, but we have come back, and this is a 5% increase over 2022, which is where we were, usually trekking up before COVID. So we usually stay in that 4, 5, 6, 7% increase every year, which is very good. So with the money that you all invest in tourism through the hotel motel tax to Anderson County, and we know that the other cities are collecting tax, but what is collected in Anderson County, the money that we spend, that's a 289% return on your investment. So I think if, you know, in today's market, it's pretty good return on investment going on right now in the current economy, but I don't think that, you know, anybody's getting 289%. So, it's a really good investment. And then the one I like is right there under the people. Because of visitors to Anderson County households saved $613 in taxes last year in 2023, while each Tennessee resident saved $1,161 in state taxes. So the Governor Lee said it at a conference we were at. He talked about how tourism is the #2 contributor to the state's economy after agriculture. So visitors are very important to the state, and a lot of times people go, okay, great, the state gets taxes, but you all know that those taxes come back to Anderson County. So I kind of want to put it in a little bit of perspective in that little graphic at the bottom where it says to put it in perspective. Looking at just the general purpose budget, and I'm not as familiar as the budget as some of y'all or Robbie are, but I just picked out these numbers. $46 million from state funding for the schools. This is just the schools. $13 million from local option sales tax, so money that comes back from local option sales tax. And then, so that's out of a $78 million budget that our schools have. So I know there's a lot of different compartments. I mean, you know, a lot of different areas that the school spends money, all these different funds, but I just looked at their general fund and pulled those numbers out to kind of put it in perspective of how much tourism through what goes to the state and what comes back to Anderson County is important to our schools. We're a sales tax state. So we're one of, I think, 6 that has their sole source of funding from sales tax as a state. So one number that always gets left out that the state doesn't report, but I pulled these numbers from our trustee's office, $669,000, over 600, almost $670,000 is paid by hotels and marinas in property taxes to Anderson County. That's not what they pay to the cities. It's not a combination. This is just to Anderson County. So the hotels, all the hotels and the 2 marinas that we have, which are overnight lodging, pays almost $670,000 in property taxes to Anderson County. So tourism is big money. And again, like I said, it's one of our biggest economic investments in the county. I think we're very fortunate in Anderson County. I've always said that we have a very diverse economy. We haven't put all of our eggs in one basket. So a lot of times when something maybe a little bit slacking, maybe like with COVID, industry's down a little bit, tourism picks up, retail picks up. So I think we're very blessed in the county to have a nice balanced economy with all of our different ways to drive money to the county. So that's all.
Commissioner Yeager?
Yes.
With the Aspire opening,
Yes.
are you going to be able to track the kind of visitor? I think, how do you do that on private property?
We have a program that we've used for a couple of years now called Placer. And I know I brought it, I think Commissioner Varan had some questions about it too when we first started using it. But we can geofence an attraction and look at through cell phone data. And also now there's another company that also tracks credit card transactions that the state uses. We haven't got access per attraction. We have it per county, but not down to the attraction level yet. But the Placer information that we have access to, that we partner with Explore Oak Ridge to purchase, we can geofence any attraction in Anderson County or any location in Anderson County and tell you who visits, when they visit, how long they stay, and we can go back 7 years.
Okay, one more question. Do you have to get permission to track people on private property?
No,
Okay.
no. And again, this is not, I mean, I don't know that you visited
Sure.
Aspire. This is just cell phone data moving. Basically, you authorize it when you go on. Their biggest app is Life 360. So if you allow Life 360 to provide your information to third party, you're given the authorization for that. Now, I mean, I'm not sharing it with anybody. You know, we do share it with our attractions. They do have access to that information, but we're not publishing any specific locations at this point.
Commissioner Foster?
You know, now that the state's collecting Airbnb, are we able to track it better to see, like, you know, I know it's hard to find out what property taxes they're paying because there's so many that are just out there. But have we seen, I know we've seen an increase based on that, but kind of what percentage that makes up of our retail or from our spending is going to Airbnbs outside of hotels?
We have seen a huge increase. Probably about 15 years ago, if you looked at the numbers, about 90% of our hotel motel tax came from hotels, and about 10% came from what I classify as other, and that is short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and VRBOs, and campgrounds, cabins, condos on the lake. That was, I classified other as all of that. Probably about 5 years ago, that flipped a little bit. So it's about 70% hotels and 30% other. It's probably maybe a little bit more than that now, just because the state is collecting that. So answer your question, yes and no. When the clerk's office was collecting it, we were able to see who was remitting the tax. Now that the state is collecting it, we cannot see individual business names. So we do not promote anyone that is not, that doesn't prove to us that they are paying the tax. So if they are listed on VRBO and Airbnb, that is that company's responsibility to remit that to the state. So if you go and stay at Airbnb and you pay through the app, that is getting remitted by the company. So we will promote them. If you are not on one of those platforms, then we require proof that you are actually paying the tax. So we have a few of those that are still hanging out there that are not using a platform, but the majority of them use a platform. And it's hard for us to keep up with individuals, so we have links on our site to take you to Airbnb and VRBO. So we don't get to see specifics anymore. The state won't share that information with us, but the return on that is it's gone up probably, you know, doubled, if not more, since they've been collecting it.
Thanks.
Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Chairman. The occupancy rate of the hotels, is that kind of back up to pre-COVID levels?
Yes.
So, like, what was that, like 68%?
It usually at the interstate, it would run anywhere from 80 to 90%. Sometimes, you know, in the winter and stuff, you would be down in 60s. Oak Ridge is a little bit behind that, but we don't really look at their occupancy numbers because they're not contributing right now. We just receive hotel motel tax from the Clayton hotels. But if you look at their occupancy numbers, they're run lower than that. Usually they stay in about the 60s. 60s is good for them. But a lot of that is because of the business travel has not rebound as much as the leisure travel has, because Zoom and other, you know, online conferences or online meetings not, you know, taking the place of in-person meetings.
So we are collecting more. It's not didn't just get transferred from the motel occupancy to Airbnb. We're getting more of
Yes,
both.
we're getting more on all levels,
Yeah.
not just because we're collecting more on Airbnb. Our hotel occupancy is still where it has been.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank
Great
you.
presentation.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson, would you go in and try to have somebody come from this north stand?
He wasn't able to come tonight, so it might be November.
Okay.
For
All right. Have you got any insight on what he wants to speak
No,
about?
there's a new, there's a new state park manager at North Stam State Park, and he just wanted to introduce himself and kind of talk about the changes they're
Okay.
making at the park and new policies and new projects. So.
All right, we'll look forward to hearing from you.
Yep.
Okay. Next is strategic framework plan for the city of Oak Ridge. Commissioner Barron, do you have something on that?
Well, no, we talked about it about a month ago, or at least I brought it up, that if we made it like a living document for our strategic plan, then we could adjust things as we go along and put in details and everything like that. But, you know, I didn't see any interest in it, you know, that sort of thing, or anybody got any feedback or ideas on it, putting it in an electronic document so that we could all share it easily and stuff like that.
I know we had, quite a bit of discussion on that, and we never did reach a conclusion how we would handle it. But I'll talk to the mayor and to our new law director and see if there's anything that, any guidelines or something we can do, and probably put it on next month.
Well, and God, I can't remember her name right off the top of my head. Anyway, the Strategic Planning Committee might
Denise,
want to jump in
Commissioner
on
Palmer.
that.
Well, that was kind of like one of your things, was spearheading this strategic planning thing, and that's coming up on number 12.
Okay.
But I think that's what his comments were, is if we could include that into our strategic planning committee discussions monthly.
Okay. I think when we get to, number 12 there, when we discuss having another strategic planning workshop, talk about it then?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Okay, opioid resolution. I think everybody's got a copy of it, and there's a couple of changes in there that they would like. Has everybody seen it, or have they got it in front of them? On the second page, now therefore be it resolved, we need to change the date. Is there a recommendation of that date, which will be Monday? This coming Monday? Okay. All right, and then the second thing would be down on applications. Application is forwarded to the nonprofit committee and strike the opioid settlement task force, so it'll go straight to the nonprofit committee. That's the two changes I've been asked to bring forward to this committee.
May I add one?
Yes.
Where it says on the third page, annual status report. It says at the end of each fiscal year. Now, and I would assume that's for the county fiscal year, but to be clear to people, I think we ought to put in a specific date, like August 31st, rather than just say the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, there's also a requirement that the county mayor has to fill out for the use of these funds, and so I don't know, I would assume that since it's in this resolution, I just don't remember the details. I can go back and check, but I would assume that what's entered in here is based on the requirement, but I will go back and check. So
Okay.
right now, all I've been reporting is that the task force has been meeting, having community meetings. There's no expenditures to report.
Okay.
But there is a deadline, and I just don't know when that is. I'll have to go back and look.
All right, so if we do approve this resolution, it'd be tentative to all these changes in the mayor's recommendation.
There's an
Commissioner
additional
Foster.
change under applicant review, number 3, it says budget committee. We need to update that to finance ways committee. Is that what that one's called now? Oh, did it? I thought it changed name.
You lost that.
Oh. I thought that was in that, I thought we passed that.
Yeah.
It was all in one motion.
It stays budget,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, anything else?
I guess just one comment, Mr. Chairman. I was talking with Commissioner Vandergriff about this. I would assume, and I just was asking for clarification, that if one of our internal departments wanted to utilize some of these funds for a project, say a drug disposal program, or I was talking with Commissioner Vandergriff about like a pilot project. EMS was going to talk about using nitrous instead of some of the opioid pain relievers on a call for someone who might have addiction issues. You don't want to trigger them. Does that still come? Do they need to go to the nonprofit committee, or is the understanding that internal departments could still go straight to budget with a request? And then the other clarification would be, what if it is a for-profit entity? Are the funds only going to, because I mean, some of the health programs or some agencies, they may not be a 501c or nonprofit, but I just was throwing that out for a couple of questions.
So that'd be some of the things that our law director, Mr. Brooks, could work on, and the changes. Nicole, did you get these changes that we talked about? Okay. All right. All right. All good. Good discussion.
Yeah, I mean, it would make, sorry, Chairman.
Go ahead.
I mean, it'd make a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense for our departments to go internally to the nonprofit committee or
Right.
even a for-profit organization that's doing work that might, you know, that if it saves the county money, even a for-profit doing some work
Yeah.
saves us money on the back end.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
some
it
of
makes
these
a lot of
pilot
sense.
projects would be like a one-time expense. It won't be a recurring expense, but it'd be a one-time expense. Yeah, it's all good. Do I have a motion to approve as amended?
I second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Barron, seconded by Commissioner Capshaw. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Next is Safe Senior Driving. Request to add to commission website.
Motion to approve?
Okay, got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner McCamey for discussion. Commissioner McCamey, do you,
Who requested it?
I have no idea on that one.
Anybody know?
Annette?
A rash law.
Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, it's a really good guideline, and maybe we can copy it if there's no violation. But the link is actually to a injury law firm, and a lot of times these law firms do put together good guidance for the public, but I would say if we add this one, then we'll probably be inundated with attorneys all over the country. No offense, Mr. Brooks. Who, I mean, that's how they kind of market, is they'll put good advice out there for people to look at, and then they're kind of marketing. So that would be my recommendation.
So is this something that we need sent to the law director for him to look at? How does the committee feel about that?
Yeah.
And the maker of the motion, the second, are you okay with that? Okay. All right, so our amended version would be to send this information to the law director's office and get him to come back with feedback. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Boy, we're moving right along. Highway 116 and the drinking water issue in New River. I'll start with the Highway 116. There's some pictures there. Those given by a constituent. I passed those around. While you're looking at those, our state legislature again has been working on that, and I've got a statement by State Representative Ed Butler. And this is from State Representative Ed Butler. I have continued to follow up on the truck restriction, and I believe it's slightly delayed due to the damage in East Tennessee. I have spoken to Region 1 Director Steve Borden today, and they have completed a portion of the truck restriction on Highway 116, including the required alternative truck route. They have both been forwarded to Nashville for approval and the signature of the TDOT Commissioner for implementation. Unfortunately, things don't move as fast as I would like them to, but I'll continue to work daily to get this truck restriction completed. But the pictures that you see is the things that the people that live around that area deal with on a daily basis. I mean, these trucks are just constantly on their road. the pictures that you'll see will be where they've been run off in the ditch, actually run into. I was following some from Oliver Springs the other day, and what happens is most of that traffic starts from the cross bottom area. It's following 2 tractor trailers, and you get right there at Dutch Valley, and it says no, restricted signs to tractor trailers, so they immediately turn left. And they go through Frost Bottom, then down to 116. And for everybody that's ever traveled 116, it's dangerous just in an automobile. So you can see from the pictures, that's what the people that live in that area, they put up with. But I appreciate what our state representatives are doing to try to get this amended.
Do we know how many trucks are on average going through there? Is it one a day?
No, it's minimum of 8, as much as
A day?
24. Yeah, and that's reported from, the people that actually brought those pictures to us. And the mayor helped.
Be there that many times seeing this so much happening, there must be a lot more than that happening.
And this is just when they're at home and they see it, and then other
Yeah.
people reporting it, but there's a Facebook committee that usually sends out pictures and all that, and the mayor is the one that actually helped facilitate putting a plan together for everybody that we met in Briceville at the library. Had people from the state, had people from TDOT, we had highway patrol there, we had a, local sheriff and all that, so it's an ongoing thing, and that we're definitely looking forward to a resolution. Ben, these are yours. And this lady's name is on here if you'd like to speak with her. You can have a copy of those.
Here's one, Ben, here's another one.
I think they're the same.
Are they the same?
I think, yeah. I think they're the same. Yeah. Okay, and the next is do we have any statements on this, on the driving on 116 before we move on to the water issue? Okay. The next is the water issue, and I think the mayor's been working. She talked a little bit about it at budget committee meeting. I spoke with ACWA, and they're coming up with some things. But Mayor, do you have anything on that?
No, Robert Campbell and Associates is working on this, so I had spoken with him the night before, well, I guess the night that the hurricane was moving into East Tennessee. After budget committee, I checked back in with him, and he apologized, said he's a little behind because he did get called in to do some work related to all of the hurricane flooding and everything that's going on. But that he assured me that he would be taking the vendor up there to get some quotes for Anderson County. So,
Okay.
and I think that what he was working on was the well idea, the pump and well idea that was discussed at the meeting.
All right. Any discussion or comments? All right, we'll move on to the strategic planning update. Commissioner
I'll take this one up.
Okay.
On the strategic plan, I've talked to Denise, and if she wants to add any comments while she's here. But really, we just need to know if we want to move forward with doing another one. Obviously, we had them last year. We had 2 days, and then we had a follow-up, another meeting. But I think it was very beneficial. We saw a lot done from that strategic plan and kind of moved quickly on some, and there's some things. Thing about strategic plans, if you just let them sit on the shelf and not do anything with them, they're not very worthwhile. I don't think we need to do 2 days again since we that was kind of kick it off. So we were kind of thinking Friday, like we did last year. We did Thursday, Friday, but this would just be a Friday. That way maybe more people can be there also. And look at doing January. That gets us ahead of the budget season as we start to prepare for the budget if there are things we want to fund. So that'd be from this committee if we'd want to just move forward with it, to have another meeting. We also, last year we had more cost with it, with a facilitator, and you still need a facilitator that's outside of the group. I think that's important. Is there somebody we can use locally? I know Oak Ridge just went through it there, and I think Denise was going to reach out to them, correct, on Oak Ridge?
The mayor.
Okay, sorry. And so that's just kind of where we are on that. So if we're still interested in doing that, I think it is a benefit for us to continue to do that at least yearly, and then maybe even, as we go down the road later on, less often. So Mayor, did you want to add?
No, I haven't gotten with Randy Heeman
Okay.
yet. I did reach out, and he said they did it internally, and he was happy to meet with me and discuss how he made that happen. And I do know I have another meeting with him. I think it's the 28th, and I'll get the details on how they did that, or if they used somebody, or if they would loan somebody if they had a staff facilitator. So I'll get more information.
Any other comments? Commissioner McCamey?
Yeah, since we're on it, we've had it on the agenda for the last 3 or 4 months to discuss the thing. I didn't attend the first meeting because I was told by the county attorney it was illegal. And I would like for our acting county attorney to make something in writing whether or not the next one would be legal and what would have to happen for it to be legal. 2 items that I read in the report that upset me just a little was that this body that met up there stated that the elected officials need to stay in their lane, and I never did understand what they were talking about on that. Can anybody tell me why that was part of the report, that our elected officials need to stay in their lane?
I can't answer that because I wasn't there at that time, while that was brought up.
Well, and it was in the written report that I
Yeah,
read.
I saw it in the written report, but I couldn't answer that myself.
Anybody? Can
Yeah, I
anybody?
mean, I don't hold me for facts on this. I think the discussion was because you got elected, you got commission, and I don't think it was any particular elected official. I think it's just if you're the county clerk, you focus on the county clerk's office. If you are commissioner, you focus, obviously the commission, what we do. If you're the register of deeds, instead of the register of deeds worrying about the clerk's office or the register of deeds, and I'm just using, or the mayor's, the mayor's office dealing with the court clerk's office, and I don't think it was, like I said, from my recollection, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it was about any particular department. I think it was just in general, all elected officials, not that you don't have concerns as elected, as a citizen of the county to be concerned about another department, but manage your department. And like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was the conversation. I don't know who, and I did not say it, so I don't know, want that on the record. But I think it was just trying to, hey, we all can work together, but they're also separate departments, and those departments can't always interact with other overlapping issues that could be caused by people dealing with other departments, and they should be dealing with their own department.
Well, like Commissioner McCamey, I was a little, maybe the right word's not offended, because I wasn't there. But it's just reading into it. It's like reading a text message sometimes, you take it the wrong way. But I had some other elected officials speak to me, and my reply was that, everybody that's elected is a constituent of county commission, no matter where they're at. So, if you've got an issue, I'll talk to you about it and bring it up. Because we're all spokespeople. Everybody that's elected for a commission, we're elected from, although you're a lobbyist for your district, but you're still elected to represent everybody in Anderson County. So, and that was my reply to some of the elected officials that came to me and wanted to know what that was about, and they were offended. And so I think, maybe we got that hashed out pretty quick by just letting them know, yeah, you can come to us anytime. And I wasn't there, so I can't tell you. And those elected officials wasn't there either, so they didn't know the context of the conversation. But I think Commissioner Foster did a good job in explaining that. So back to the motion about having one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion that we have one planned for January. We'll get the details worked out, if this committee, and then take it to full commission to see if we want to continue doing that as a group.
And then hopefully there won't be any cost to the county for doing that. Where we won't be hiring, somebody to come in and be CTAS or somebody that's more familiar with operations. I think the mayor do a good job in trying to find somebody.
I would second that, but I'd also piggyback on Commissioner McCamey's request about a report, what the standards are to whether it's a legal meeting or not, what it's required. But I will make a second on that.
And we can make that tentative.
Yeah, and I'll,
to
if
what-
it's legally allowed to happen,
Yeah,
I'd make that, I mean, I can put that in my motion,
Yeah.
that with the law director's approval, that, we can move forward with having a meeting as long as it's posted correctly and.
is that okay by Monday? Can you have that? Okay,
Is there,
Commissioner Anderson?
is there, we don't know if there's gonna be a cost for the third one yet. We might, we're gonna, the mayor's gonna look at maybe borrowing somebody from Oak Ridge, but we're not set, this
No.
isn't gonna set aside.
Not
any
gonna set
funds.
aside anything, just that we're
Consult.
gonna put it on the calendar to have it January, so we can nail down some dates, look for a facilitator that wouldn't, one, wouldn't cost us anything, or if there is a cost, maybe something that's very minimal, to go forward with it. I just think if we don't get it on the calendar, then if we're gonna still wanna do it, if we don't get it on the calendar, then we won't get it scheduled.
We did one similar to this years ago, and because we didn't have any development going or any housing development going in Oak Ridge, and I looked at Phil when I said that, in Anderson County, and then within about 3 months, it just blew up, We got to worry out, and people want to start coming to Anderson County to build. Commissioner Wandell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended the first meeting, and then I didn't make the second meeting for those strategic meetings in the past. I think some of the discussion I remember hearing about concerns was, were the meetings properly notified to the public and stuff? So I'm not saying they were, they weren't. I thought the meetings were good and informative, but for me, the two meetings we had, again, I attended one, I didn't attend the second one, but why can't we use that information and take that information and use it in our committees? I feel like we're almost trying to get away from our committees and come up with new stuff to work on, but we somehow want to get away from the structure of the local government we have, which is work through the committees. When I first got back on here this last election, the number one thing I heard from commissioners was work through committees, work through the committees. And now we're kind of kicking the committees to the side, and this is my perspective, and we're trying to develop all these ideas and things to work on when, in my opinion, we should just work through our committees. Committees were established to do this very thing, to get your agenda items out there, to get the action items out there, put the funding to it if you need the funding or not, and go attack those items. But I would not be supportive of another paying an outside entity to come in, no matter if it's $1. We do have CTAS. I do recall vividly Commissioner McCamey bringing to our attention CTAS is there for us to use. We can call them, and they can come in and help us with this if we need this type of help. So I'm not going to be in support of doing another strategic committee meeting. I'm more in support of us doing the work through the committees we have established in this legislative body. And if someone has ideas, bring them to that committee and let's get it going. Let's do the work. I don't want to sit around and have discussions and somebody make a flippant comment and then somebody else gets upset. I think we all, and I say all, commissioners and the mayor and all elected officials have really worked hard over the years to develop a relationship, to work together, and I don't want to see that deteriorate in any way, so that's just my comments. Thank you.
Any others?
Yeah, I wasn't hardly finished. There was another thing in the report that upset me just a little bit, and that was that said the commissioners come to the meeting unprepared. I don't see that. I mean, I think most of the commissioners that attend the meetings come prepared. I ask a lot of questions. 9 times out of 10, I already know the answer, but I like to get it out there just so the public can hear it
Absolutely.
and see it. And but like I said, 9 times out of 10, I know the answer to the question before I ever ask it. But I ask the question to get it out to the public.
You're right, and that's what we do. That's why we televise these meetings, because I remember when operation and budget wasn't televised.
Right.
you know? So we started doing that, we put that on the agenda, we got that approved, because transparency is the key. To let people know what's going on, and we know what we see on our tablet or what we've got written down. And that's why we went to these TVs as part of transparency to the public, so they can see what we see as we go along and we're voting, especially on budget agendas and things like that.
Well, that one just a little, upset me just a little, because I don't know if any commissioner that comes to a meeting that's not prepared to
No.
meet. And, it was part of the report. I don't know if it was this lady that we paid thousands of dollars to come in and make that decision or not. I didn't ever see her at the commission meeting, I don't think.
Mhm.
So I don't know why, that would be a part of the report, that commissioners come to the meeting unprepared.
I don't know, unless, years ago, when you had a committee packet, some people didn't pick up their packet till just a day or two before. But now, we've got everything on iPad, and you go back and read it anytime you want to, night or day, and go over it and have a chance to, call and talk to each other and, and get their input, not have a decision made, but call and get their input about why they want to put it on there to speak about it. But, again, sometimes when you see things in writing, like in a text message again, it's just sometimes it's misunderstood what the intent is. But I think that's, it's all good points, because I felt the same way you did on some of that. But I went and I asked some people because I was, felt upset about it. So I went and asked, and I got good, reasonable answers. But thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
Anything else before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Okay. So, Mr. Brooks, you'll have something for us by Monday, what we'd have to do to make it legal, like if we need to meet in this room, or if we'll definitely have to meet somewhere, I think, where there's ample room for the public to be there. I think so. Okay. All right. Next is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Commissioner Wandale.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to ask the mayor if she had any chance, any updates on the senior kitchen update for the seniors center.
So what specifically about the kitchen? Right now, the walk-in cooler is down. It's under warranty, so we're getting that repaired. We're working through the vendor.
Okay, so I just had somebody asking me if I could get updates on it. I don't even know what's been done to the kitchen. I don't know if, so there's been a cooler installed, I guess, is what you're saying, but it's down?
Yes, it's
Okay.
down. It's down currently.
Okay.
Yes.
Is a kitchen being built, or has it been built? I don't know, Mayor, forgive me, I haven't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, the kitchen is complete. We
Okay.
don't have shelving in the storage room yet. We are currently utilizing the kitchen for, we have an Ethra nutrition program. So we've built those clients up, I think, the week of, so not this week, I don't know what the numbers are, but last week there were 75, on the 3 days that we served, there were 75 seniors that signed up for those meals each day. We did lose, and Ethra is looking to hire some new nutrition staff. So the one staff person that we did have working in there with Ethra was no longer eligible. And so she's in a new position. We were able to keep her at reduced hours, but we do have also some funds going through Budget Committee. The city of Clinton makes a contribution to us in the amount of $4,000. So we are pulling some funds from those restricted codes in order to also put some funds into some food ingredients. A lot of times in the past, the materials that have been used were donated or given, and those were either many times expired or torn package, and we're trying to get do a little better job there. Also with some inventory controls and things like that. So we're moving forward with it.
Thank you, Mayor, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else under unfinished business?
I got one more, Mr. Chairman. I was talking to Commissioner Varon before the meeting, and I thought it might be on the agenda, but it's not. But we've had some discussion. He's the chairman of, Commissioner Varon, of the Animal Shelter Committee, and he sent out an email, and I guess I want to get some clarification, and I don't mean that Commissioner Varon to be speaking on your behalf. If you want to jump in, and it's, okay. I just would like to know how are we to proceed? So we talk about the strategic stuff. Strategic plan, talk one sentence about the animal shelter, the new one, I guess, maybe. We went through committees, the Animal Advisory Committee. We had our meetings. We went through the Operations Committee. We passed a motion to go to full commission for a board. That came before the full commission, was voted down, so there's no, that failed, of course. So I guess where I'm at is, what's this body want us to do? What should we do? Because the question I have still to this day is, we can have the funding to build something. That's wonderful. What I need, and what I think the community needs to see, and this isn't somebody asking me to ask this is Tracy asking this. How will we operate a new shelter? How will we pay for it to maintain it? And I'm a little concerned we're going to build something with just the mayor's oversight, and she can do it, but she has a lot of irons in the fire. I just feel like it's an awful lot of us to ask the mayor to, okay, run a $6 million animal shelter. I'll be honest with you. If you've sat around this table and you haven't heard from the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee that there's concerns, not saying it's the mayor's fault, not saying it's Damon's fault, we just can't hardly run a 12-bay shelter. It's packed. We can't even take animals in at times. Hence the need for a new shelter. I get it, but if we can't maintain the 12-bay shelter, how in the world are we going to maintain a $6 million new facility if we don't have a plan, an operational business plan? And apparently, us commissioners, the majority felt there was no need for any type of oversight for a board. So what I'd like to hear from this body, Mr. Chairman, what is the recommendation? We don't need a strategic plan or committee meeting to tell us. It's up to us to decide. And if the answer is, hey, we're all confident in the mayor and she can run it, no need for a plan, then that's what I want to hear.
Okay. Mayor, you got anything on that, or?
If it's the operational plan you want, I will have one to you in 30 days.
Okay.
I mean, I'll just, I guess, no pun intended, I'll be frank here about the advisory committee. There is a new member that was put on the advisory committee, and I didn't know. My only relations with the new person has been positive in the past. This individual showed up at the animal shelter, and I have no issue. It's a public facility. Show up, you know, that's wonderful. The director came and said, this individual wants to meet with me. And I said, well, absolutely, you know, we're open book, meet with them. And he said, well, Mayor, this is awkward, but he reported that this individual who's on our committee said, anything that's wrong here is the mayor's fault, and I don't like the mayor. And so this has been an ongoing situation with the advisory committee where I am expected to work with people that don't like me, and it's an advisory committee. So, I mean, I think if we can establish something where we accept nominations and the mayor appoints the individuals on the advisory committee, I think that's legally proper. but it's just a no-win situation, and I'm not saying that's all members on that board. But this is the second individual. I have another member who came to me and said she is no longer participating because all it is a got you for the mayor. And, I mean, I feel like, I feel like I can work and facilitate and work with people with differences of opinion, but if the goal is not truly to work with me, I don't know how there's a partnership. I mean, I don't know how it's functional. And Commissioner, I've worked well with you on it. You know, I'm working with Commissioner Varon, but it just makes it's not working.
Okay.
That's not working. If we want it to be something where I have some input into who the appointees are, that's how we got off the ground. And really quickly, we had Commissioner Belosky, we had Commissioner McCamey, we had our first task force. We had some folks that I invited to be on there, the Sheriff's Department. We had a veterinary, not a veterinarian, but a veterinary representative, one member of the volunteer agencies, one representative. I can't remember who else, but we made things happen. We've got it done really quickly. So I think that's really kind of the secret sauce that is missing here, is a true partnership working group. I'm happy to have that. I mean, I do that in other instances. It works. It works at the state level, works at the local level. So I think it makes it very difficult.
Mr. Chairman, may I say something?
Commissioner Varon.
Okay. I'm currently listed as chairman of the Animal Care Advisory Committee. Now then, since March, we have not been able to have a quorum. All the members of the committee pretty much feel like they're wasting their time with the committee because nothing's getting done. Now then, I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but at this point, there's nothing under the charter rules for me to replace members on the committee. I wrote to all the committee members and only got responses from 3 people. And it takes 5 for a quorum. So at this point, I thought I sent you an email. I couldn't find it in my sent box, but I thought I sent you an email asking you to put this on the agenda. But apparently I didn't, or something went wrong. But at any rate, I'd like to ask this committee to either completely dissolve the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee or to restart it and take new applicants, to reform it and see what we can do. I mean, you know, right now, we don't really have a committee, you know. So, as one person, I don't feel like it's up to me to decide one way or the other. It's the county committee for the animal shelter and animal control. But I can't do it without members. So I need a new group of members, or we might as well just do away with the committee altogether. So I'd like to have your all's input on it and perhaps a vote one way or the other if y'all want an animal advisory committee. I think there's plenty of things that need to be done in this county. I would make a lot of suggestions that a lot of people in the county wouldn't like, you know. Like you can't have too many cats or dogs, you know. Knox County has a rule for so much acreage for each dog you have, you know. We're up to our ears in cats and dogs. There's just no doubt about it. I see it on the internet every day. You know, people trying to find homes for dogs, homes for cats. And the animal shelter's expensive. It is labor intensive to take care of these animals. We had 1,000 animals last year. Well, actually it was 2023. And it cost us $300,000. That's $300 for every dog and cat that we took in. The newer animal shelter, it's going to be less per cat and dog because they got more room and stuff like that. But it's still going to be costly, you know. And of course, spaying and neutering. You know, if we're going to have that in a new shelter, you know, what are we going to do to address that issue? Many people can't afford it, and the shelter is trying to give out coupons and things like that, but it's for the number of cats and dogs we've got in this county, it's going to cost a fortune to spay and neuter them all. There's no doubt about it. I kind of estimate we've got like 20,000 dogs and cats in the county, probably. So whatever y'all want to do, I'll go along with it. You know, if you want an animal shelter care advisory committee, I'll work with it. I'll work with the mayor, you know, and see what we can do, see what we can come up with, what will be best for the county. But, you know, as one person, I don't want the responsibility of whether we have a committee or not.
Commissioner Yeager. When I was a kid, 100 years ago, there's an article, a column called "Can This Relationship Be Saved?" It's my opinion this can't. I'm going to make a motion to dissolve the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Discussion.
Yes.
Commissioner Wandell?
First off, I'm going to support that motion. I just want to cover a couple of items, and I appreciate the mayor being candid and giving me her genuine perspective on it. I was one member who was not out to get the mayor. The reason I stepped down as chairman is because I heard some of that in the community, and I'm not here to get anybody. I'm here to hopefully help us all grow and love each other and all those kind of fun things. We can disagree, but just disagree the best you can without getting out of line, even though I've gotten out of line a few times in my career.
Well, we do have proper decorum here in this
Yeah,
committee,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm proud of
So I'm going to say this. The committee, Animal Shelter Advisory Committee, was formed because we had a lot of folks coming to our meetings that felt like maybe they weren't being heard. It's not the mayor's fault. They were just here to express their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt it'd be best if we formed this advisory committee to hear their concerns. We did that, myself, roughly 18 months. Out of that committee came a lot of suggestions, motions. Those would be forwarded to the mayor. The mayor, for us that know, and for the community that knows, the mayor is responsible for the animal shelter. It is her department, not ours, mayor. So we made those recommendations. The mayor would have 45 days to respond. She would respond, sometimes not, but she didn't have to. That's the way the committee was set up. But I thought the committee did its job in terms of hearing the negatives and the positives, whatever. The mayor did participate, Damon and everybody else. But what we did not do is take action, and what I heard the mayor say is she didn't get to have a selection. I'm not going to say handpick, because that's not correct. She's just saying she didn't have a chance to really put people on the advisory committee. Well, she would have had a chance with the board if we passed the resolution. She had the chance to pick more than we or anybody else could. She would have the majority. Unfortunately, the commissioners around this table felt that that probably wasn't enough, so they rejected it, I guess. So the very tool that we had and went through all the committees to bring to the full commission to say, let's get a board in place for the mayor to run a successful, worry-free animal shelter, failed. So here we are tonight, and I'll support this motion to abolish the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee, but I would challenge my fellow commissioners to figure out how we're going to help the mayor, and I'd be all ears for the mayor, not tonight, but at her own leisure, to tell us, because $345,000 for a budget for a 12-bay shelter is not sufficient. $345,000, 85% of that budget is to fund the people that work there. I mean, I know we got some finance people around here. That's not a lot of money. Doesn't leave a lot of money for the animals. You know, so I'm going to be like Commissioner Varon. I'm going to be all ears. I'm going to listen. I'm going to vote to do away with this motion. I'm going to vote in favor of it. And then I'm going to sit back and listen and figure out how we're going to be able to take care of the animals and how we're going to come up with suggestion. I wish we would have passed the resolution that the body put together. I think the mayor had some input on that. Jay Yeager, God rest his soul, he put that together. And it was very fair. It wasn't designed to put the mayor out of her seat or take her control away. It was wide open. Unfortunately, mayor was out of town on business and maybe some much needed family time. You know, she don't get it much, but it wasn't her fault. She wasn't here. Maybe we should have just put it off. So I'm going to vote for this motion. I just want to give a backdrop to that story so everybody understands why the committee was formed. I think it has reached its limit. It's time to move on, and let's do something new. Yep. Thank you.
Commissioner McCamey.
Mr. Chairman, I was a member of the original task force before we ever even built the shelter. And it did function very well. And I would suggest that, and I'll go along with the motion too, to abolish that committee. But I would like to see the mayor appoint another task force, or whatever she wants to call it. That's what it was called before. And include the 3 commissioners that served on that board, and then the others, let her appoint those, and recommend that to the full commission, along with abolishing the original, this present.
So you're asking the motion to be amended to add that?
Yeah, I'd like to amend it to add that to it, if that's agreeable with you two.
I'd kind of like to hear if the mayor wants that kind of scenario. I don't want to do it, speak for her.
So like a task force like we had before?
Yeah.
I mean, we can do that.
But
That's
I'm, of course, you can do what you want to. You can appoint a task force without our approval. But I would like to see myself, Commissioner Wandell, and Commissioner Varon serve on that task force, because we have been involved with the advisory committee. I was, like I said, a part of the original task force before we ever even had a shelter. So,
Sure.
But I would just suggest that. Maybe it don't need to be a part of the motion, but.
Yeah, I can do that. I don't think you have to put it part of the motion, and I'll just, I think before we had 2 commissioners, you and Commissioner Belaski.
Yeah.
I'll just add a 3rd commissioner, And I did like that composition because we also had, like, law enforcement involved too, because a lot of these issues are, you know, touch the sheriff's department or require their participation.
I think, was Stephen Newby a member
Yeah,
of that committee
yeah,
also?
yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
I'll just grow it by one.
Okay, so we don't need to amend the motion.
No, just abolish it.
Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor to abolish, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous.
That's a
Anything else?
recommendation to the full commission, right?
Yeah. Anything else under unfinished business? We'll move on to new business. Under new business, I would like to say thank you to the mayor for organizing the water and the supplies that went to the other counties that was most affected, to our volunteer firefighters and all the other necessary, the EMS and everybody that went out and helped people in Anderson County. We had one firefighter that got serious injuries from out trying to clear a tree, you know, and, you know, it wasn't his job. And we had just talked about that in our board meeting, that we gotta be careful about doing that. And he was the very one that got hurt seriously. So I'd ask that you, he remains in your prayers for a while. It's gonna take a little while to recover. But the mayor put together a successful operation, it's still going. When I went, you know, to drop off what water I could find, and at that time, it's really hard to find. You just had to, you know, if you was getting it from Sam's, you had to be there when they pulled it out. But there's other places that has water supplies now, I found out, because I've got a constituent there that bought a trailer load. And he got it from Geyser, I think, down out of Sweetwater somewhere. But they've got supplies, so, but thank you, Mayor.
Well, I just, all I did was on a phone call with some fellow mayors, and so I just use my voice to really strike a match. It's this community, it's our agencies, so I don't need any credit. It's
And the
people
high
like, that's
schools.
why Michael Foster was doing a little cash exchange. He was out of town, but he bought his 20 cases. I picked him up. We just live in a great county. We live in a
and the high
great
schools
county.
did the same thing.
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, lots of folks did, from
Yeah.
the business community. I mean, churches were doing their own drives. And it's funny, Mr. Chairman, I had written a note here under new business to say something very similar. And watching what these other counties are going through, it also goes to the importance of what you all have really put your effort into over the last year, which is improving public safety and response. And so you look at the radio investment that you all made. You came to meetings, you had community meeting, you put the money behind it, and you see, sometimes it doesn't always seem to make sense, but then you see what those poor counties are going through, and just, you can only imagine. It's what all of that emergency planning and all the first responder agencies, it's what it's all about. And, you know, I hate it for them. I feel very fortunate that it was not us.
Yes.
But we were left here in a position to help people, and that's what this county did in so many ways, and is still helping people. Sheriff's Department still got the truck down there, and we're still helping people.
Anything else? Commissioner Foster.
I saw today, and maybe the fire commission has talked about this, but the new reporting guidelines for the volunteer fire departments, has that come up? The comptroller has sent out new guidelines on financial reporting. Saw it on their Twitter today, but there's a new report out, so it might be something. Are you chair of fire commission, Commissioner?
I am Commissioner Foster, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'll say this. Tennessee is fortunate to have volunteers. The state can pass as many rules and regulations as they'd like. Our volunteers do this for free. They have more constraints on them than paid firefighters. So I'm sure we'll be, I've been seeing this kind of push to kind of make our volunteers jump through more and more hoops. It just boggles the mind. What you're going to find is the more regulations that are laid upon our brothers and sisters to protect us for free is less reluctancy to give of themselves, because they're required to jump through so many more hoops than people that get paid. And they do it because of the love they have and giving and all the old things of the way of life that sometimes seem to be forgotten. So I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. I'm sure it's something we'll discuss. I've heard one or two members mention it that aren't volunteers, that kind of seem to hammer it home at each meeting, and I'm sure I'll hear it at the next meeting, and I'll say the same thing then too. So I'm hopeful that when the new legislative body gets in position there, that they'll take a second look at volunteers. And I think this little incident that happened, unfortunately, is a prime example of why you need volunteers. And to put more constraints on them, I mean, I appreciate you bringing it to my attention, but I'll just throw it right back and say, you know, you realize that they can't change the oil on a truck? Got to take it to a certified location. That certified location costs $1,000 to change the oil, when me or Tim could change it ourselves. We're not allowed to do that. So, you know, sometimes there's a lot of red tape that's put in place. I don't know, maybe it's the goal of the state to have all paid firefighters. If that's the goal, they'll get it, and then we'll have to raise taxes. I'm thankful to the Lord for our volunteers. They are an absolute blessing to this county. They do things that we don't believe. I don't know how many of you have driven around on a weekend and seen volunteers out in full suits and 90-degree temperatures with equipment busting open a bus just to practice so they can save somebody, all free. You know?
Exactly.
So, no, I haven't seen the new criteria from the comptroller's office, and I'll be fighting it all I can. I'm just a little old commissioner, but I'll certainly speak against it when I get my opportunity, like I'm doing now. Thank you.
The commission wanted to know, you know about the 9/11 stair climb.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And, you know, where we have our volunteers to go out and participate in that. And our local volunteer firemen are the ones that finished what, first?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
Yeah. Mayor?
Just as a follow-up on the fire discussion, the Tennessee Fire Marshal's Office, there's a director of fire prevention service that's over the Fire Marshal's Office. They're going to be in town. I worked with Commissioner Wandell on choosing a date. What they're doing is they're looking at Anderson County, and they're going to provide a report that's called a community risk assessment. So this will help the fire departments, help the Board of Commissioners understand that basically they analyze like the topography, the demographics, everything about the county, and they will identify what are the areas of the greatest risk so that your departments know what resources they need, those kind of things. But then also at this meeting, they will be discussing a big grant opportunity that is out there, and they want every one of our agencies to apply. There's no limit. It's not going to be only 2 can win or 3. They want, I mean, I'll quote the director. He said, I want every one of your agencies to win. So apparently the application is fairly simple, only take a max of 10 minutes to fill out. They've kept it very easy, so they are putting some funds out there, and so we'll be having that on November the 7th, I think. Is that correct? I don't know. It's at the Clinton Community Center is where it will be. So all commissioners are invited, and first responders, volunteer departments, everyone can come. So.
Great. Anything else? Motion to adjourn? Thank you all so very much.